Hello. Hi. I hope you are well today. Thank you for joining me. Hello. 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 Say hello to me in the comments. I would like to hear you say hello. Greetings. Greetings, people of God. Say something to your girl. Say something to this sister of yours on this side of the camera. I am honored to be here. I am so glad, so happy that the Lord will have me come here before you today in this capacity. It's such a pleasure to be here indeed. Hi, 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 hi. How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Hey, how's your day so far? This Saturday. Are you good? Are you good today? Just while we're waiting for our brothers and sisters to hop on, while we are waiting for the people to come on here. Hey, I want to just do this and that and this and that. Just making sure that you all are aware of your sister's movements around here. Who is this? There we go. Okay, I'm glad that is done. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. I'm so glad, so happy to be here. And you know how we roll. Before we carry on, I like to continue. Go ahead and do this for the sake of your girls, your sisters' eyes, because this can be rough on my eyes. While we are waiting for others to hop on, this is my daughter's business. She does jewelry, and you can find this at Buconis_creations on Instagram. I'll drop a link, leave a link for you in the description where you can go and find the store and get yourself some unique pieces of jewelry, something that you will never find anywhere else except for here. Okay, these are made with you in mind so that you can show up unique, like I'm showing up unique right now. There isn't anybody on the planet, I am 100% sure, there is nobody on the planet right now who has these, okay, who has these. It's gonna be me and you. Right now it's just me. It's gonna be me and you in a second, okay? Or at least I would like it to be me and you. So yeah. I thought I'll take 10 minutes and wait for people to hop on. But I'm thinking for the sake of those who will be watching in the future, just so they don't have to skip through the first part way too much, right? Just so they don't have to skip too much. I will go ahead and start introducing myself so that you can know who is here and why I am here, how I seek to help you, and so forth. I count and consider this a huge privilege for me to be here in this capacity. I am so thankful. I am so honored that I can get to serve the Lord in this capacity. Serve the Lord in this capacity. God in Broken Pieces is a vision that the Lord gave to Precious. If you are here for the first time, I am Precious. So he gave me this vision. Welcome. It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining. As I was introducing myself, if you are here for the first time, I am Precious, and sharing that God gave me this vision of God in Broken Pieces so that God's people can know that God has a relationship with broken pieces, and that so that God's people can know that God is in the midst of broken pieces. He is in the midst of broken pieces. Okay, and what he seeks to do with that is gather them, mend them, and present them back to you whole, so that you can be able to get unstuck and live the life that he intended for you to live. Have the quality of life that he wants you to live. And today I am intending to assist in this area. I hope that this can be able to help someone. We live in a world today where things have advanced so much in this topic in particular. And the topic of today is, if you have had sex before, you've been married. If you've engaged in this act before, you have been married. And so what happens now? What's next? What does that even mean? Okay, this is not intended to condemn. This is not intended to make you feel bad in any way. If anything, it's intended to help you. Again, I'm here to give you perspective that I hope will be able to help you. You may think that it's a pretty obvious topic if you have explored it in your own way, but there are so many people who may not necessarily be aware of what sex really means, and how it affects them. Okay, what sex really means and how it affects them in and out of marriage. And yeah, while we are on this topic of marriage, what is your understanding of marriage? What is marriage? When do you consider yourself to be married to someone? Is it after the wedding day? Is it after lobola? I'm in South Africa, and where I come from, there is what the English language refers to as the bride price. And in my language, we call it mahadi. In other people's language, they call it lobola, and so forth. So my thing is this: I am in Africa, someone is in Asia, someone is in Europe, someone is in America. What qualifies one to be married? Or rather, what qualifies the couple to be referred to as a married couple? Okay, the reason why I'm asking this is because, as I am in South Africa, until the bride price has been paid in full and a ceremony happens, I'm not married to anybody. However, in Europe, in America, people can get married without the bride price. So are we married because of traditional circumstances and the rules that have been set by tradition? What does God say about marriage? Where does marriage come from to begin with? Maybe if we can take it back to that point, we can be able to get the definition of marriage, or what it really means to be married. If we look at the first couple on earth, before that, marriage is so sacred. Marriage means a lot to God. Marriage is a covenant. It's more than just the coming together of two people. And God values covenant, because what qualifies us to be here, or the foundation of our relationship with God, is a covenant. So he values covenant. There is nothing that he has ever done with any human being unless there was a covenant that he made with that person. We look at the covenant he made with Moses, the covenant he made with Abraham, the covenant he had with the first man here on earth. God values that a relationship need to have a seal of some kind if anything is going to come out of that. And the coming together of a man and a woman is such a strong and sacred tie that God intended to accomplish so much through the union of the male and female, of the male man and the female man. Okay, so there is a man, the man is the spirit. It doesn't have a gender, but what has a gender is the physical, and the physical has different attributes that makes. So I always say womanhood is the embodiment of God in a human, in a female body, and same is manhood. We embody who God is in our gender, okay, because we are different in that way, and we bring different things to the union and so forth, okay. So God values marriage so much, so much, that he supports the union of marriage. But how do we seal that? How is that union of marriage sealed, and how does it continue to remain sacred? The word says that the bed of marriage should not be defiled, because it's an interference of the covenant of marriage, which God values so much. And we see that he values marriage so much that he perceives himself as the husband to the I don't know if I can call them the former church, because I'm not a theologian or anything like that. I'm not sure how to refer to them. But the Israelites, God said when they were serving other gods that they are cheating on him. He said they are cheating on him, and they are behaving like they are doing whoredom and behaving like a whore, basically. When we mix God with other gods, or other things that take priority in our lives more than him, whether that is our jobs, whether that is our children, whether that is our beauty, whether that is our identity, that false identity, anything at all that we have placed before God. He said to the Israelites that they are whoring before him, and he detests that. He doesn't like to see them giving to other gods what they are only supposed to be giving to him. That's why then he says that the covenant of marriage should not be interfered with, because it is so important to him. Okay, that's one thing about marriage. And so moving forward, the first marriage that God ever that happened before God, that he instituted, because he actually, just watched everything unfold. He formed Adam and then put him to a deep sleep, and then he put he formed Eve out of Adam, right? Well, I call him Adam. To this Adam thing. He formed Eve out of Adam. Okay. Having formed Eve out of Adam, he presented Eve before Adam. And Adam realized that, oh my goodness, this is meant for me. This was made for me. Okay. Something on the inside of him made him recognize that what is inside that woman is what I need to get in touch with, is what I need to get connected to in order for me to be complimented, okay? To be happy and have a companion. Yes, have a companion. Because God saw that he didn't have a companion that was compatible to him. So he saw compatibility. He saw himself in there, because yes, a part of him was in there. And that's how the first union happened, and God witnessed that. And that's how we see the first marriage taking place, where? Before God. Why? Because both of them were before the Lord, were in God's presence. And it was so clean and so pure, so uncontaminated, so original, and it became so sacred. And here's the thing, the foundation of my message. Their union was sealed with their coming together as a sign of their covenant. when they came together as men and women in a way that only men and women can, then that's how they sealed their union. Okay. And then we see the story of how Isaac got married to Rebecca. It's one of my favorite love stories, by the way. Okay. It's one of my favorite love stories. Isaac gets married to Rebecca. What happens there is Rebecca's life changes in one day. One moment, I mean, she was going about her life as per usual. Go to the river, fetch water, come back, do the house chores, help in the cooking, and do whatever, learn about womanhood, hang out with her mother, take care of the sheep or whatever it is that needs to be taken care of, feed the chickens, and so forth, and go to bed and wake up and do the same thing, bake bread, serve the family, do the washing, clean the house, whatever it is that she used to do, hang out with her friends, take a walk to the river with them and come back and so forth. And in one day, her whole life changed. She went about her life as per usual, not knowing that there is something that is on the way for her. And that thing was what was her marriage. Okay. She meets this person who she didn't know was going to actually change her life forever. That person didn't look like he had anything for her at all. And what we see happening there is they end up at her home. This you will find in Genesis 24. It's my favorite love story. I made a video about it. I'll actually put the link in the description so that you can go and have a look at how I love that story, and how I appreciate the God of orchestration. That's the topic of that message, the God of orchestration. Rebecca then goes home and negotiations take place. If you are from Africa, everything happened in over a weekend, if I can call it that, but basically in one day. It happened that they sleep over because they couldn't just up and leave on the same day. But here is the thing, in one day she was married, sealed, packed, and ready to go to her husband, her groom. My point with this is she was married to, there's a bride price that was paid there. The negotiation was not about the bride price, by the way. And the family, I don't think at that point would have negotiated a bride price as such. It was a matter of finding out who this person is. Can they release their daughter to this person? Unfortunately, it was a relative of theirs. And even though they wanted to spend more time with Rebecca, Rebecca's life had changed, and she was needed elsewhere much more than she was needed at home. As she was a young maiden, it was time for her to get married. But we see that as soon as she got home, the seal of their marriage then again becomes, it says there that Isaac knew his wife. It was in that knowing that only a man can know a woman. Isaac knew his wife, and they woke up tomorrow morning, the following day, as husband and wife. Excuse the noise. And then we see again a very sad story that is found in 2 Samuel chapter 13. A very sad story where this meaning of sex. I made two references where the people were willing under beautiful circumstances. They were happy, and it happened so beautifully. The next two circumstances will not be so nice. I am sorry if I'm going to trigger somebody or ruffle any feathers, but Tamar experiences rape, unfortunately. Tamar experiences rape at the hands of her brother. Her brother, here in 2 Samuel chapter 13, it says here in verse 11, but when she brought them near him the food to eat, he took hold of her, the brother of Tamar, okay, Ammon, took hold of her and said to her, "Come, lie with me, my sister." So Ammon had a lustful eye over Tamar, his sister. She answered him, "No, my brother, do not violate me, for such a thing is not done in Israel. Do not do this outrageous thing." Okay? As for me, where could I carry my shame? As for you, you would be as one of the outrageous fools in Israel. Now therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you. So Tamar realizes that what this man requires of me is the meaning of marriage, is a sign of marriage, is a seal of a covenant. I cannot allow him to violate me in this way. It's much more than a violation. It has a meaning attached to it, because it means that this man would have had me the way a man is supposed to have a wife. Okay? I can't allow him to do that, because only my husband is supposed to know me in that way. And if he does this, there are consequences and there is a meaning connected to this action. So she understands that, and she can see that I would rather negotiate for things to happen in a way that they are supposed to, whereby she will not be disadvantaged or compromised. Because once this happens, let me read on. As for me, where could I carry my shame? Okay, blah blah blah. Therefore, please speak to the king, for he will not withhold me from you. I just finished verse 13. But he would not listen to her. And being stronger than she, he violated her and lay with her against her will. Then Ammon hated her with a very great hatred, because now he was, that spirit of lust manifested in that way. He was regretting what he has done because he couldn't do things right, okay? His flesh was burning and so forth. So the hatred with which he hated her was greater than the love which he had loved her. And Ammon said to her, "Get up, go." But she said to him, "No, my brother, for this wrong in sending me away is greater than the other that you did to me." You see, she's saying there, you violated me. It's done now. You have done to me what only my husband is supposed to do to me. And sending me away will mean that I will never be married. It's worse than just staying with you and, since you have already behaved in that way, then we can look at a way forward to say, you know what, the king then hopefully can allow us to remain together. So what she was saying there is, since you claim to be loving me and you fail to go to the king, I'm even willing to say that I will forgive you for the violation, so long as you don't send me away, because which man is going to want me? Irrespective of how this thing happened, it is already perceived, it is already known that this is a seal for marriage. So it's going to be difficult for me to, it's going to be impossible actually for me to be married by anybody else. But it didn't happen that way. He would not listen to her. He called the young man who served him and said, "Put this woman out of my presence," and bolt the door after her. And she was wearing a long robe and so forth. And it is so sad. Verse 20. And her brother Absalom said to her, "Has Ammon your brother been with you? Now hold your peace, my sister. He is your brother. Do not take this to heart." And the very sad thing is, it says here, so Tamar lived a desolate woman in her brother Absalom's house. Tamar lived in desolation. Desolation means a place that is not fruitful, a place that is not inhabited or inhabitable. That's how serious sex is. If somebody does that with you, it means that they have to be the one who continue in that journey with you, because it is so sacred. They have started something that they need to see through, and that's what God meant with it. And we see again in this last story, which is actually the peak of my message. It's found in John 4, the whole of John 4 up until verse 41, 42. Up until verse 42. Let me just have a look. Yes. So the whole of John 4, okay, all of it. I actually suggest that you read all of it. You will find very helpful information here, background and everything, but I'm going to focus only on a few verses here so that we don't have to go through the whole scripture right here, right now. You can, I mean, the whole chapter right here, right now. You can always have a look at it later. And it says here, Jesus asked for water from this woman at the well, and the woman said no. Samaritans have no relations with the Jews. And Jesus is telling her that if only you knew that the water that I have will actually quench your thirst forever. The thirst that she was having, that made her to move from the hands of one man to another. There was a thirst in her, and it made her to be searching for the quench of that thirst in all the wrong places, in other people's hands, men in particular, and they still could not fulfill this. And she was doing this in secret, because if it was to be known, it would have been a problem, especially in those days. And here is the thing, most people, even up to today, who are doing certain things in this area of sexual activities, they are doing it in hiding, because somewhere, somehow, there is something that knows within us that this is something that is not to be taken lightly, okay? This is not something that is to be taken lightly, whether we are in a relationship with God or not. There is what is the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for built-in. Yeah. There's a built-in system. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a built-in system that sounds an alarm when we are doing something that is not aligned with God's will for our lives, okay? With how God would like us to conduct things, even though we may not necessarily know the dangers or how to get out of that, how to overcome the flesh in certain areas, okay? But there is just something that lets you know that this is not something to be taken lightly. That's why people hide, while they do certain things. It's only at a certain point where they have really given up on themselves that they walk over that built-in alarm clock, and they just override it and ignore it, or they just don't feel anything anymore, or at least they pretend as if they don't, where you get numb and you don't care what how things turn out. You don't care what anybody says about you, not in a sense that, in a way that Jesus didn't care, where you are pursuing your purpose, but you don't care because you had to die on the inside. And whatever it is that you are doing, that moral compass, you have decided to suppress it, whatever reasons you will be using to justify that. And remember, I'm not here to condemn you. This is just to give you an explanation of what happens when we do something for too long. We get desensitized to whatever it is that would have sounded an alarm from the inside of us, okay? So here is the conversation. Jesus said to her, excuse me, I don't know why this happens. Thank you. Why this happens to me while I'm talking here. But it says here, everyone who drinks, Jesus is saying to her in verse 13, everyone who drinks of this water will never be thirsty again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give you, or give him, will never be thirsty again. He's making a reference to what she has versus what he has. What she was denying him and what he wants to freely give him. Sometimes we deny God ourselves, whereas he's requiring us to give him ourselves in exchange for something that he has, okay, that will benefit us even more. And the water that I will give you, or rather give him, will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. And this woman said to him, Sir, give me this water. So she's a negotiator, this one. She can see that, okay, this man is going somewhere. Or perhaps she was just kind of like, I want to see where this is going. What is this man saying? Water from where? Let's see what this man is talking about. He said, say, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water. So she's thinking, oh my goodness, so there's actually something like that. I would like to explore it. I want to experience it a little bit more if it's going to save me a trip to the river. Okay, so she's thinking, what's in it for me? How can I maximize this? Jesus said to her, go. Now things are getting interesting. Here is the gist of my message. Says to her, go, call your husband and come here. The woman answered him, excuse me, I have no husband. Jesus said to her, you are right. In saying, I have no husband. And she was thinking, yeah, well, whatever. But here is now the thing. You are right in saying, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands. And the one you now have is not your husband. Woo! What you have said is true. The woman said to him, say, I perceive that you are a prophet. Oh my goodness. Oh my Lord, I feel something. This word, I feel something in my tummy. This woman said, say, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped in this mountain and so forth. And, you know, this whole thing, if you can read it. But the thing that I wanted to highlight is Jesus saying to her, the one that you are with is not your husband. You are right about that. For you have had 5 husbands. And what does that mean? Who do you know who has had 5 husbands? I've had people who have been married before and divorced and married and divorced. I haven't met one who's been married 5 times. Really. I mean, not because they won't be able to, but perhaps in a lifetime it may not necessarily be possible to, in such a way of making wedding ceremonies. But from this, I gather that Jesus is trying to tell this woman that because you have engaged in sexual activities with these men, the one that you are with now, whom you are not married to, however, this person is your husband, but they are not your husband. So you have been with this one and you have been with 5 as well. You have had 5 husbands before. This is huge. This is huge because you may be watching this and you are thinking about the past that you have had, or maybe the life that you are still living now, where sometimes sex can get very casual. We live in a world today where we have reduced sex to casual. It has moved away from being something so sacred to being something so casual. We can just Netflix and chill. You know, you can call up your friend and come and Netflix and chill. We can say one thing, we say things like one thing led to another. And I'm not here to condemn. I'm here to say if God can take me out of it, God can take you out of it as well. Simply by having knowledge, by knowing what sex really is and the implications of it and what it means. Sex is a huge covenant sealer. It's not something that we can use for fun. It's not something that we can use in order to get something out of somebody or to get back at somebody. Men can use it to manipulate. Men can use it to... men understand this because they often use it to make the woman stay, because of course it's meant to make a connection between a man and a woman stronger. That's why the women feel it more. You know, they say men can go around having casual sex and they don't feel the implications of it. Well, guess what? That's not necessarily entirely true. It catches up with them at some point, somewhere, somehow in their lives. It's not possible that we can move from one place to another, covenanting ourselves with different people, and it doesn't hit us back. Maybe it won't hit him in his emotions, but it will hit him in his life somewhere, because when you get into a covenant with someone, whatever it is that they are carrying, whatever it is that is about their lives becomes yours. That's why you will see that before you were in a relationship with this particular person, everything was okay in your life until you met this person and engaged into sexual activities with them, and suddenly things went south for you, because that interaction, that exchange brought in whatever it is that they have been struggling with, whatever demons have been tormenting them. There has been an exchange. The thing about covenant, the meaning of covenant, it means that what is yours is mine and what is mine is yours. And that is huge when we are in a covenant with God, because God is saying, I will trade with you. Give me your weaknesses. God trades with us. He takes our weaknesses, and that exchange takes place in that way. He takes our human limitations, and in exchange for a supernatural power that he gives to us. That's why a womb can come alive when a covenant has been done, because that womb becomes timeless. The womb becomes timeless as much as God is timeless. For God to be able to accomplish what he wants to accomplish through the womb, that the womb that is 98 years old can conceive a baby, because God has stepped in and God is exchanging the human limitation with his supernatural, with his untimeliness, or untimeless, not untimeliness, whatever the word is, if you know what I mean. And so that's the thing. That's why we should be careful who we get engaged with, who we get into covenants with, because whatever it is that we do with the people that we lay down with, we are experiencing an exchange. And I heard somebody say that is the reason why Rebecca could not fall pregnant. That is the reason why Sarah. Let's start with Sarah. There was a generational curse that took place there. She made an example with the lineage, the generation of Abraham, that there was barrenness. There was a curse of barrenness in the generation of Abraham. Why? Because they had decided to take God out of their equation. The reason why God called Abraham out is because Abraham's father and his father's fathers broke the covenant between them and God by serving other gods. So the barrenness, the curse of barrenness was active in Abraham's life. But it was when he began to reverence God that his life turned around and the curse broke, the curse of barrenness. So this is as serious as that a covenant, when we covenant ourselves with people through sex, whatever they are burdened with becomes our burden. Whatever they are cursed with becomes active in our lives. And we see this by how Sarah was not able to conceive. And I like how she made that, she brought the revelation that it wasn't that Sarah could not conceive. The problem was hanging in the spiritual with regards to the generational curse that was upon Abraham's life, which God himself had to step in and break, should Abraham agree to being in a covenant with God in order to put an end to generational curses. So what puts an end to generational curses is when we get into covenant with God and reactivate the covenant that he has always wanted to have with humanity. Then he is able to reverse and undo and restore whatever it is that our forefathers did that is still active in our lives. And this thing now wanted to continue to be active because we see Rebecca struggling after she got married to Isaac. And then we see Rachel struggling. So you can see that the problem is not these women. There was a problem in that lineage of Abraham that wanted to perpetuate itself. But because God made a covenant with Abraham, he had to show himself faithful. So that's how covenant, how serious covenant is. That's why we need to be careful. Who do we lay down with? Even if it's the person that you have chosen, a person that you say right now, I'm settling with this person, and you are intentionally getting married to them. How do we now get out of these situations? Because I have explained what do I mean by you have been married if you have had sex before. For the sake of time, there will be a part 2 to this, to say, now that Jesus said to this woman, you are right, if this one that you are with is not your husband, because you have had 5 husbands. How did she have 5 husbands? Because she got into sexual relations with them, and that made a covenant with them. So she was walking around carrying the presence of the people that she had made covenant with. So when she got into sexual relations with the third person, she was still in a covenant with the second one and the first one. And she continues to go through life like that, and these things continue to follow her, and they are weighing down on her. And whatever it is, they are still active in her life until she had an encounter with Jesus. That's what turned things around. That's what flipped things around. The covenant that we can have with our Maker is the one that will be able to help us to start on a clean slate. That's why you can decide today that you want to get married to the one that you have chosen, the one that you admire, the one that you love, because you are ready to get married, and you are still thinking about other people in your life that you have had encounters with, sexual encounters with, because there is a connection that took place that is somewhat spiritual, that can only be broken spiritually. That's why they talk about things like soul ties, because you are connected to this person in such a way that only God can come in and reestablish a covenant with him, break those and reestablish a new one. So I'm thinking tomorrow we will have part 2 of this session, where I will go into detail as to how do we make a clean start. It's almost like a spiritual ritual that needs to take place between you and God in order for you to put an end to the covenants that have taken place between yourself and the people that you have been with before. And if you are married and this is not something that you have done, you might want to consider doing that, so that you don't experience those things coming and chasing you while you are in your marriage, and thus defile your marriage bed. So God values this activity so much. Because sex was created by him for a reason. Once we understand what it is, we will treat it with the sacredness that it has, and we will understand why it was created and how God desires to use it, because it is such a superpower under the right environment and under the right relationship. When we understand what it is and it is done in a way that it is supposed to take place, in a way that God intended, it is not a bad thing. But because we have tended to be so loose and we are so casual about it, we see it sometimes as a tool to use to reel people in, a tool to use to get something out of people, because we know it's powerful. It is so powerful. So people of God, if you have just joined, I see people who just joined now. Thank you so much for being here. I implore you to start the video at the beginning, because I see you find it just when it is getting to an end. There are some very serious things that I have shared here that I believe will bring some kind of liberation as it relates to this topic, so that you can be able to understand and assess in your life, where are you in relation to this, as far as this is concerned, and where can you make right, what needs to come out of the closet, the skeletons that must come out of the closet, so that you can be free to open the cupboard Okay, what still needs to be reconciled from your past, and how can you be able to move on from the covenants that you have had with the people that you had sexual relations with in the past. There is hope. It's not the end if something like that has happened. God understands everything. He knows everything, even the things you haven't shared with anyone. And what he desires is for you to be free. And without knowledge, you can't really be free, because you don't even know what's holding you back. I said in the video, you will find it if you go back, that there are people who were doing well until they met someone and had sexual relations with them, and things started going south. Why? Because sex is a covenant. And a covenant means what is yours is mine, and what is mine is yours. And when God gets into a covenant with us, it means our weakness, there is a trade that takes place. Our weakness becomes his, our limitations become his, and in exchange for his supernatural. That's why the ocean can open, because he has taken the human limitation out of the equation, and he steps into a situation with his supernatural through the human. He exchanges our weakness for his greatness. That's why he can make a murderer, turn a murderer into someone who has written a huge part of the New Testament. How God can turn things around when we get into a covenant with him. So nothing is too far gone. Nothing and no one is too far gone. But we need to have the knowledge, and we need to know how we can be able to get back at the enemy, because this is a fight between God and the enemy. The enemy wants to get back at God, but it's not going to happen. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Please watch the whole video, share it with whomever you believe will benefit from it. Remember to subscribe and check out all the links that I'm going to put into the description once this becomes live and available to you as the public. So it might take a little bit of a couple of minutes to properly upload, and it will be available in a second, so that you can be able to watch it again and share with your community and share with your village. The aim is we are going to be healed up in here. We are going to be healed. We are going to reconcile our pasts, right? That's the aim. We are not going through life with shame anymore. We are not going through life with guilt anymore. We are not going through life with regret. No, that's not going to happen. Not anymore. Not when we are still alive. That is a sign. That is a gift. It's a sign that God is still approving of us to be here. So we are not going to waste any one more day in lack of knowledge, because that really can shoot you in the foot and prevent you from moving forward. So we are not spending any one more day in lack of knowledge, in ignorance. We are not spending any one more day in pity parties. We are not spending any one more day in identities that are tied to our pasts, identities that are tied to our backgrounds that really do not define us. Okay, and I always say everything that we need, everything that we want to know is in here. Everything is in our maker. If there is anything that we want to know, we need to go back to him. So I'm going to close this live and allow it to load again and upload properly, and it will be available to you as the public, so that you can watch it from the beginning and understand, as I'm building the story, how this sex issue can actually be sacred again in your eyes, and between you and God and whomever you are going to spend the rest of your life with. Because ultimately, God wants to fulfill certain things between the union of a man and a woman before him. One of the things I asked is, what certifies marriage? So I hope you will be able to watch it from the beginning. Let me know in the comments how this video has impacted you. If you can reach out to me on the social media platforms and DM me, we are available on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. And our handle is God_and_broken_pieces. That again, handle God_and_broken_pieces. Hit me up on the other social media platforms. DM me, leave me a comment. I will leave all the links that are important, including how you can reach out to me via email and however way, in the description once the video is available. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for showing me the love. Share the video. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, I don't know what you are waiting for, because there is more in store that the Lord has laid on my heart that I will be sharing with you over the next videos. So make sure you put on the notification button so that you can be notified every time I am online or I have uploaded some content, some new content. So God loves you, I love you, and my prayer is that He will be able to gather the broken pieces in your life, mend them, and present them back to you, healed and whole. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Mwah.